just how H2K won game 1.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Well, H2K does it here in game 1. Let's compare what we thought would happen initially to the mid-game and then the end results, because I feel like you felt that H2K had a clear game plan going in, but it just didn't work out that way in the mid-game.
Like, definitely. I feel because of their composition kind of allowed for mistakes, because later in the game they would be stronger anyway, but I felt like there was fluidity. Like, the lane that was pushing, they made a play with Lulex, got deep vision, made sure that Rumble was safe. And with that in mind, there was always a game plan, they were always doing something, but I felt in the mid-game they were a bit too eager. No patience, and they got punished.
I think when we look at picks and bans, one of the biggest adaptations coming into it was, you know, we talked about, can they just do what Fnatic did on the side of H2K? I like the adaptation. They ban the Elise, which forces the Sivir ban out of the Unicorns. And from there, everything becomes maybe a little bit predictable for H2K. You know that VODS is likely to default to a Corki. They had Tristana in the bag to go a little bit later, but I just actually like the way that they go, okay, we know the Elise is a problem. We're not going to ban out 3 mid laners. We know Ryu can handle you.
I felt one big issue. I felt like Unicorns of Love had the opportunity to punish H2K even further by, for example, blind picking the Orianna in the rotation where they picked the Nautilus, because I think Rumble is a matchup that is good into Nautilus. And also I felt that they could have picked the Annie instead of the Morgana, because I feel like lately we haven't seen a lot of Hylissang Morgana. I felt it was a bit off in the early game, and Annie is something I like Hylissang on.
Yeah, definitely.
And dislike because of our games in the past.
Yeah, as well. It does get banned out versus him a lot. But with all that, though, and H2K doing good, ramping up a gold lead in the beginning of the game, somehow Unicorns of Love found the picks. Let's run one of the replays, because I feel like H2K had the right idea in a lot of instances and made the right decisions, but somehow UOL ended up getting a pick in first this situation where they were pushing up mid, which was the right idea, but they get caught.
Yeah, for once we actually saw both sides of H2K in this game, the good and the bad. This was H2K looking for a play in the mid lane, but they're just not really aware of the flanks. They don't have the wards out on the map and they get caught from it. I mean, everybody talks about kind of chaos style. I actually just feel like Unicorns, when they're playing a style like this where it's pick, a lot of it's just on their enemies not warding properly. And that's what creates this chaos, is just enemies not respecting the ability to pick. This was the Baron seal where Unicorns...
No, it's actually where Unicorns of Love actually also make, in my opinion, a right decision, but don't finish it off in the end, or don't make the pick they want. And I feel like that was also the story. Those Barons, and at one point not finishing a Baron, that would have been a done deal for Unicorns.
I feel like that at that time they had 2 inhibitors down. There was the only opportunity before the waves hit into their base to do this Nasher. I think it was a good call. They should have committed completely into it, because they were in this very awkward position where the enemy team could, H2K could have done the Nasher, and they had super creeps in their base. And the only possible solution, like Unicorn magic, and they just stole the Baron. It was just... I thought the game was over already, and I'm starting to become a believer.
Wow. Well, Stress, what about you? Doesn't it exemplify, you were talking about the chaos style, and because of the warding, Power of Evil stealing it, and Power of Evil up to that point had been the person that has done the most damage on Unicorns. It's kind of same old, same old.
It's kind of same old, but there's the same problem, is if Power of Evil dies, this time VODS was picking up a lot of the slack. So we actually want to take a look at the damage done in this game between the predominant carries in the game. This time we're including top lane as well, because obviously we had 1 damage champion in Rumble going up against the Nautilus. So when we can take a look at the graphs that were done of the damage in game, we can actually highlight maybe the difference between the 2 team compositions.
I don't think it's ready just yet, but I do know that Power of Evil for the longest time had the most damage done, but then it goes over to VODS because he got those couple of kills, and in the end happened what we thought would happen. That Tristana gets ramped up. We saw one example where he just 2 shots Power of Evil basically, and that was the story of the game.
I feel like with the composition Unicorns of Love were running, they had to win the early game harder. I feel like Corki Morgana, they are specifically picked for the Thresh Tristana lane. They should have punished that harder, and I felt the fact that Tristana, Kassing and Yarnan were winning that bottom lane early, they had a lane to play on. Lulex got the deep vision, and suddenly Horo gets kind of suffocated in his own jungle. Because if you have Deep Ward on one side and he's not there, you can predict that he's on the other side of the map. And with that in mind, I feel it's really important, if they pick these stronger picks, that they have to win the lanes, at least push the lanes.
Yeah. Is that the main adaptation for you as well? We should see out of game 2. Has this game told you anything about either of the teams that can make you a little prediction, or see that H2K is stronger than they were?
I feel like from that we learned that H2K, with the game plan they had coming into it, I feel like honestly all they've got to do is ward more. We had the Sightstone on Lulex. The time that they had wards on the map, they were making the good plays. It was when their vision died that they were kind of falling into a lot of situations where Unicorns were picking. I just feel like Lulex was a bit of a step up in this game. If he can stay at this level, I think H2K should be okay.
For sure. And I think the biggest adaptation I think H2K should do is just to take it a bit more easy, because they had the game plan, but then they wanted to rush a few steps ahead, and you saw people getting caught, and this should not happen if they want a fluent game, because they could have been punished even harder.
Well, it was only the first game in the series. Of course, the jitters were there, but it's 1 win on the books for H2K, and the pressure's on the Unicorns of Love to tie the series up in Game 2. And before we go, we'll hear from the 3 Swedes that have a home field advantage in Stockholm this weekend.
I'm from Tyresö, Stockholm, and I'm really excited to going back home and playing in my home city. In Sweden, we've always been kind of big in esports, but having the actual LCS finals is as excited I can ever be.
It would be like playing at home ground or whatever, so it would be really fun to play.
It's a really nice city, like it's very pretty, there's a lot of things you can watch and go see.
I don't have much memories from the city, so it's going to be a new experience for me as well.
I think it's pretty cool that all 3 Swedish AD carriers managed to get there.
I think it's going to be an amazing experience that I can bring with me for a lifetime.